The golden hour, or as I'll sometimes call it, sweet light, is the time of day when the sun is either near the horizon or just dipped below it. As the sun gets closer to the horizon, it provides a bath of great warm light. I wanted to use the low, warm sun for its intense saturation of the reds in this image. Waiting until the sun is low in the sky usually means that it will be a very warm yellow. Sometimes that can work to your advantage. I chose not to reduce that warmth in the raw conversion because it looks appropriate here. I'll just run a few examples past you here that were done with the late low sun at my back. Not everyone can look into the bright setting sun like this, but if they can, use it. Brown horses especially benefit from low sunlight. Also, since horses are so skittish, you can't use light modifiers or else you'll scare them away. For action panning shots, you need a relatively low light level to allow for longer shutter speeds. A low sun was perfect here to bring out the warmth in the trees and allow some long shutter speeds. By the way, you can shoot this at f/16 and not worry about the excessive depth of field, because the background stuff will be blurred by the panning. Panning isn't easy, and I'll usually pose a static shot to get a sharp one of the face, and then transplant it onto a moving image. That's what I had to do here. The easiest time of day to shoot with sunlight is just after the sun sets. The light is very forgiving and soft. I mentioned that sweet light is very forgiving. For this one, the sunset was about 90 degrees to her, and yet because the lighting contrast is low, we can place her that way. As a comparison to show the harm that hard side light can cause, here's an image where it was ignored. I chose to fix that particular issue with a scrim, and I'll go into that at length later. Just like with other lighting methods, it's best to have the subject face the light. If the strongest light in the sky is high, as it was here because a row of trees blocked the sweet light at the horizon, just tilt the subject's head up. If we hadn't done that, not all of the front planes of her face would have been lit, because she would have been facing a hillside instead of the light. The color of light changes throughout the day, as represented in this graphic. Notice that it goes from neutral to warm and then to cool at the very end of daylight. Sweet light usually starts out pretty warm. Then it gets cooler in color, becoming briefly neutral, and by that I mean around 5600 degrees. About 15 to maybe 30 minutes after sunset, the light goes very blue. So that cool color needs to be corrected either during the session or later in raw software. Just another summary of the color shift from before to after the sun sets. There's a great time when the rising or setting sun illuminates the sky in one direction and the blue sky illuminates the other, and we get a cross color condition that we need to be aware of. I enjoy that line of blue around the outline of her face. This happens as the setting sun becomes weaker. I shot this with the setting sun behind me. and you can see a slight blue rim light around her. I shot this facing the sunset. Her front is lit by the blue sky, and I neutralized that in RAW. She's outlined by the warm light caused by the setting sun. While I prefer this one, neither of these images is wrong. It's just a matter of personal taste as to which you prefer.
But you don't want a lady like this to have blue in the highlights of her hair. That'll happen when the sun is warm and the hair light is the blue sky. When that happens, you'll just have to change the color with any of the many methods in Photoshop. I usually just paint it in a warmer color.
So we can use this forgiving light as a frontal light, but it's also great as a gentle backlight, with the opposing sky, usually blue in color, as the main light.
If you have the option to shoot with the more prominent light at your back or the subject's back, which one would be better? This is done with the west sky sweet light at my back. It gives a very forgiving and pleasing light to the subject's face. This was done with her back to the west sky. When the light is this soft, you can get away without adding light, but it's better to do so. I used a reflector to light her face, and as long as you provide some sort of main light, I prefer this because the backlighting accents her hair, her body, and other stuff in the scene. With the west sky sunset at her back, I instructed her to tilt her head up to the high sky main light. This was set with the camera's color balance set at 5800.
Her hair looks very warm here because I color balanced for the cool light that was illuminating the front of her. A similar application, but using the sweet light as a rim light. In the next few minutes of light, we get some other options to play with. Waiting just a little longer until the sun sets, we get a silhouette.
And silhouettes can be just as powerful as a lit portrait.
If you need to do more than one session per day and you want to take advantage of that gorgeous light, there's another sweet light time at sunrise. Sometimes there are places, like the west side of a lake, that need to be photographed at sunrise.
This girl wanted to be photographed by Lake Michigan, and since we're in Wisconsin, that would be the west side of the lake. And since there's a cliff to our immediate left, there's really no good light there except early in the morning at sunrise.
This was done at sunrise with me facing west. They were walking east. An hour later, the light here was unusable.
Photographing sports teams is often done best in the morning at sunrise because that's when they can all get together and they don't have any work schedules or sports schedules to work around. As I'm sure you already know, at 3 p.m. sunlight can be brutal, and in that location there's no way I could use light modifiers without great difficulty and not getting them in the shot. But early in the day at 6 a.m. at that same location, we had great light, making this kind of shot possible. So if you don't mind getting up early, you're almost guaranteed to have at least a half hour of easy light to play in.
And the same possibilities that we had with sunsets are true for a sunrise, like warm flare. I always block the flaring light source as an option, and in this case I preferred the flared image.